Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? I want to talk about something I did yesterday while I was running a session of basic fantasy role-playing game that translates really well into any OSR, into the old original versions of D&D, and it's something that can give the magic users extra magic. In other words, a little wild magic. I did a video on sorcery some time ago. The idea that you're coming up with some kind of system where you can cast more spells in a day than your list says you should be able to. That list is the number of spells you can cast safely in a day. And so as we were playing this game, I wanted to have some kind of vibe similar to that, or to the system in the VAM system in Lamentations of the Flame Princess, but I didn't want some big giant codified thing where we had a list of what might happen if there was a miscast, and a very codified list of all the things that would give you a negative modifier to a saving throw or what have you. So I figured let's do something really simple, and it worked great. We had a blast with the system, and real simple. When a magic user casts a spell outside of the number of spells he can cast per day, maybe he's trying to cast a higher level spell than he normally could cast. Maybe he's trying to read it out of his book and cast it because he already cast it today. He's already memorized it. Maybe it's a spell that's in his book. He didn't memorize it that day, but he really wants to cast it right now. Maybe he's carrying too much stuff. Maybe he's wearing armor. Something is in the way of him being able to cast a spell as normal. Simple. Roll a saving throw versus magic. Depending on how many of these conditions apply, go ahead and start to add negative modifiers. Go ahead and roll a save versus magic at -2. But I didn't want to make it very codified where we had to sit there and count all the things. So we just kind of played, we ballparked each situation. And I think I might have given him a -2 modifier at one point. One time I just let him roll straight. Saving throw versus magic. Okay, well, if you don't make that save, then roll a d6. The higher the number is that you roll in this d6, the worse the failure is going to be. And he rolled, actually, he rolled failures twice, and he rolled a 6 each time. It was great. And it was, I think one time he cast invisibility on himself and somebody else, and in fact, instead, they just glowed. It was obvious where they were. They're like beacons. And this is something that can be really fun to use, and all it really requires is maturity. Some creativity and some maturity. It's up to you as a game master, and even as the players. Perhaps it could be a conversation. Well, what should this misfortune be? What should this miscast be? Maybe the spell goes off as intended, but something else bad happens, and it can run the gamut from comical to maybe you're casting fireball and instead you burst into flames. It could be horrific if you roll really high in this d6, but you're taking a risk, and this is something you need to talk about before the game and say, okay, what is the feel of this going to be? So this requires, maturity, a social contract, if you will, the willingness to not be a jerk, the willingness as a player to not be a jerk yourself either, and actually, kind of tangential to this idea, but I was using the house rule that I've been using for a long time, where if a magic user memorizes spells, they can cast little minor magics based upon it as long as they've still memorized it. So the classic example, you memorize fireball, maybe you can light little things on fire. So Marcus's character had phantasmal force and invisibility memorized, and he was trying to do use little minor magics based upon both at the same time. Not something I ever anticipated somebody doing. So I made him roll a saving throw versus magic. He failed spectacularly. He rolled a 6. There was this great spectacular failure. It was wonderful. I really enjoy this really simple system. Roll a saving throw versus magic. Maybe apply a modifier to it if there's a lot of things going against the magic user at that point. Then roll a d6 and just see how bad this failure or mishap happens to be. A lot of fun. And really simple. Requires maturity. So that's my thought for today.